Hey guys, how's everybody doing tonight or today? We're just hanging around in Kuala Lumpur. As you can see, it's just really cloudy weather today. So let me just quite quickly do a little bit of a panoramic view here. Just wanted to go for a good workout session, and I just thought maybe it would be a good idea for me to get a little bit of cardio in, and then just go for a nice swim, and then catch in with you guys. So let's talk about what's going on in life. As you know, COVID has already happened. This is January 2023 for anybody trying to use this as a reference. And what's really happening around the world? There's war happening, Russia and Ukraine, and then at the same time too, there's a lot of everything around the world is super expensive anywhere that you basically go to. And one of the things that I realized in terms of living out in Kuala Lumpur is that it's actually not that expensive. I mean, I am coming from Canada, and Canada, the cost of living is quite high there now. And then every single time you go out, it's ridiculous in terms of the inflation and, even putting gas in the car and then dealing with shitty people, shitty weather. So I said to myself, why not just, move to a different place with beautiful weather that's, still affordable. People can still enjoy a high quality of life as people used to. And I'm not saying by any means that in Canada you cannot do that. But I'm just saying that, sometimes it's good to change perspective on life. And I guess this is my perspective on, the new age or the new world, as I like to call it. Where do I think the world is headed? I think the world is headed to a really bad place, where I think the world as we know, or that we have come to know, is not going to be the world as that's going to exist tomorrow. If that's such a thing. I do think that these places are going to become even more unlivable. Inflation is going to keep rising, and what's going to happen, people are going to complain even more and more. And then I still don't know in this day and age how people are surviving in Europe, Canada, America. So how has been my time living in Kuala Lumpur? Kuala Lumpur, I think it's a very good city. It's a good mix right now. This is the Chinese New Year long weekend, so everything is basically closed here. But other than that, 12 months, beautiful weather, just January and in November, December, it does tend to rain a little bit more than what I'm used to. And mind you that, I am coming from Canada, and Canada, gloomy weather, it's, you have to kind of sort of live as part of your reality, and cold and everything else. Now, before this, I was staying in Thailand, and after Thailand, I came to Kuala Lumpur really briefly, and then from here I moved over to Bali. And in my time, what I realized in terms of living, comparing the cost of living, I would say, between Thailand to Kuala Lumpur to Bali, what I kind of found that Thailand is not as cheap, or Bali is not as cheap as people make it out to be. Now, mind you, I was in Thailand back at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, and at that time I found the cost of living here in Thailand wasn't astronomically, well, I won't call it astronomically, but it was lower than what it is now. Now the thing is, people, they go in with the impression that everything is relatively cheap, in Thailand. That's the trap where they get lost in. And then next thing you see, instead of their daily budget of spending, let's say $100 or $150, they're spending $200-300 a day. And next thing you see, very quickly they deplete their funds, and then they think that they have to go back home. So how are most people in this day and age, of all the people that I've met with in these places, surviving? people usually have brought work online, or they're taking on more ventureships where they're able to work online, or simply they've decided that living in crowded cities or concrete jungles is not a thing, as or the dream that they were thinking it out to be. Now, with that being said, there's nothing really wrong with it if you have your base established in Canada, America, or Europe, for you to somehow find ways to automate your life in these places. And you don't have to necessarily put them on hold, but find ways to become more creative, take full advantage of technology and all that what it has to offer, and use this as an opportunity to come out to places like these, where Kuala Lumpur, you can still find affordable housing. I would say you can get something decent for about $1,000 to $1,500 a month. $1,500 could, especially if you're staying here a little bit longer term, I would say like 6 months, 1 year, even 3-4 months. Then and look behind me. To be honest, for me to compare this to Toronto, I don't think this is that far behind, or behind at all. Like, all the major brands are over here. If you want to go malls, they're very modern. You want to go watch movies, or you want to do any kind of physical activity, go hiking, or I kind of find these places to be very similar to life back in Canada. It's like I never left. And the beautiful part is that the weather is 12 months beautiful. 12 months of the weather is beautiful. That's what I was going to say. And with that being said, people, they're relatively very friendly. They're not really, I wouldn't say that there's a lot of tourists here too, but people, they're not so much on edge. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about, that people have lost themselves. People, I think, spend more time now stressing out about what's happening back in life in terms of paying bills and being in debt, and overall just not being happy with what they have in life, in the sense that people have millions of dollars worth of mortgages. People took out home equity line of credit, they refinanced their homes, and I think that's where the greed factor kicked in, where they FOMO'd themselves into buying really expensive real estate, and then the promise was that it was just going to keep appreciating indefinitely, which it never did. So over here, buying real estate as a foreign investor, I did some homework. You technically need about 300,000. If you don't have any ties to Kuala Lumpur, you need about $300,000 invested into real estate here to be able to get some type of legal permanent residency here. But other than that, there are other ways of how people are living here without having to ever purchase real estate over here. I had a friend of mine who had been basically living in Kuala Lumpur for the past 8 years, and if I ask him that, would you ever move anywhere else, and his answer would be no, because ultimately, people, this is still is a sprawling metropolitan city. There's people always going in and out. You can still fly from here to Dubai, or you can still go from here to Thailand, which is about an hour and 15-minute flight. Bali's about 3-hour flight. And what happens is that people, they are finding ways to be able to live debt-free, even if you have $2,000 or $3,000 worth of income. You could survive. I wouldn't say survive. You could actually pretty much do well in these these places, because ultimately people, now almost any place, it's all debt driven. But some places, I always say, as an accountant, are more debt-driven than others. And I would say places like North America and Europe, they're more debt-driven than a place like Kuala Lumpur, where still, if you had some type of legal status, you could still pick up a property for 30, 40, 50 grand. For 300,000, you can get something spectacular in these places. So with that being said, what do I think? The $1 million question is, would I move and would I live in Kuala Lumpur? The answer, and the truthful answer right now, currently, is I don't know. I am enjoying my time here. This is the best and the most happiest that I've ever been, health-wise, or just life-wise. Like, I was depressed living in Canada. I was not happy living there. It's just dealing with same old garbage people every day with their shitty way of thinking, their mindset. And you know what? It's a very like 9 to 5 type, mindset. It's like a very like you're like a debt like slave. Permanently. People, if you ever go to them, hey, how would you like to own your house free and clear of any debt? And they're like, whoa. For them, that's like a dream. They go, yeah, one day maybe, I should be able to buy a house and pay the whole thing off. But the reality of the matter is people are stuck in loans that they will never pay off in their life. They have millions of dollars worth of loans. Somehow they're Uber drivers, or they're people coming in making, I don't even know how they're getting approved for these mortgages back home. And somehow they are trying to, live the high life, but that's all on borrowed money. How's that supposed to work out? I take a loan, property appreciates, I pass it along. It's a big Ponzi scheme. And to be honest, you have to really ask yourself, is this what you want out of life? Like, God has given us one life. You get to live once. Are you gonna slave it away? Make money and give it out. Give all your money, all your hard-earned money, savings, and interest, and based all on speculations. Where somebody who's all at the top, they're gonna make a lot of money, but you're just a debt slave. You ain't going anywhere. And to be honest, I really don't mean to sound, like a negative person, even though I know it kind of sounds like that. Is just the whole ideology behind all of this is to formulate a strategy. So if somehow you can maybe live in these type of places, work online, or have some type of work component that allows you to work online, be happy, be healthy, try to save money as much as you can, make smaller investments. From that perspective, living in a place like Kuala Lumpur is excellent. Like, look, people behind me, everybody's just splashing water. You know what? It's just a Sunday, and people Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You know what? It's not unheard of for people to work and then also have time for their loved ones or enjoy life. This is not something which is common anymore. So that part of life is finished, in my opinion, in North America. I just don't see how the people that are going to come out of this debt bubble in the near-term future. And with that being said, I think living life in the East is going to be the new norm. And I think more and more people, they're waking up and they're realizing, like, that there's more to life than just paying your mortgage and paying utility bills and paying a car payment. While you can still live, if you see what kind of house you can afford for $1 million here, you will be living in a castle here. Driving, I see Lamborghinis, Ferraris here. People, they're, I see real wealth. People, not leveraged wealth. I see real wealth. Where people's mindset in these places, that if you want something, you go for it. You save money, you buy it, and you buy it on flat cash. And I'm not telling you to go buy something for $1 million. But if you wanted to buy something for, let's say, 300,000 or 200,000, even 100,000, you could do that. It's very doable. And my perspective on life as a whole is, and this is me approaching on the, I think my battery is also running low. So what I think is that if you have anywhere between, depending on if you're single or if you have maybe one significant other or a girlfriend, you could live here for $1,500 to $2,000 or $3,000 a month, and you can live very comfortably, very well. Like you can live in a very, like, look at this. I'm like by the infinity pool, right at the rooftop. You know what? The gym is gorgeous here. You can rent a villa, or depending on whatever wherever you're living. And on top of it, in terms of going out too, it's not that expensive. Like a fancy dinner date for two, or just going out to a good restaurant, you're probably looking at $30, $40. But then obviously depends on how much you like to go off. If you're not looking to go off or just, live decent, go out maybe a couple of times, 2 or 3 times a week, or once or twice a week. I think it's very doable for you to be able to afford a good lifestyle. Groceries are cheap. You know what? Money goes a much longer way than anything else. And you know what? From here, if you're able to basically save money, I think the biggest pro is that you can basically build yourself up, catch a big break from all the nonsense of what's happening in the West, and then when you know what, you think you're in a better position, and you think the geopolitical movement is more calm, maybe that would be a better time for you to move maybe back to whatever your home country is. But for the next foreseeable future, I think these are the places to live, and I would highly recommend that if a person's looking for a second home, they come check out Kuala Lumpur. I think this place is going to wow a lot of people, and I think it's a very well-balanced city for either singles or young couples or even married families to basically move down here and live a very high quality of life without having to spend a great amount of money doing that. So with that being said, guys, I will be doing a second vlog, and in that vlog I will get into more specifics as to the pros and cons of living in Kuala Lumpur and what I think. For now, I just want to, enjoy the pool. I want to go do a couple of laps, just swim a little bit, just forget about life, and then, I'll catch you on the next one. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and see you in the next video. Peace.